Exciting, exciting. So it's celebration time. So you see, I have my book and my workbook over here. This is the first time that I am unveiling it on the internet. I got my balloons in the back and I'm all dressed up in my celebratory top that I have designed for you all to see. And I am so excited. The book, awesome. I Rewired My Brain. My Journey to Freedom is all about how I rewired my brain, but it also has my backstory in it that's full of the trauma and drama that contributed to the way that my brain was wired before I rewired it. The first part is my backstory in this book, and the second part contains the tools and the strategies that I used to rewire my brain. And what's a must-have is also the workbook. Because while I rewired my brain, it's important for you to rewire your brain too, to get out whatever negative programs you have in it that you don't want, that's not taking your life where you want it to go. So I got the workbook right here for you. And the workbook has tools, strategies, exercises in here for you to utilize, even a contract for you to make a commitment to yourself so that you can become the highest version of yourself by using this template right here to rewire your brain. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to be sharing some of my trauma and drama. So I'm going to be doing some short readings from my book. So what I would really recommend, because this is not for children, if you do have any children in the room, do what you need to do so that you are not in the room with your children, because this is definitely not something that you would want them to hear. Welcome to Dr. K Speaks. I'm Dr. K, and I'm here to help you to navigate through the many challenges in your life's journey so that you might ultimately become the highest version of yourself. So that's right. I'm going to get into the book and read from one of the chapters. And like I said earlier, it is important, very important that you don't have young ones in the room. So I'm going to be reading from chapter 6. Not going to read the whole chapter. Got to buy the book to get the whole chapter. But I'm just doing this so that you all can know that I went through a lot of trauma and drama. I didn't just go from being on welfare to being a doctor. It was so much more in my backstory that contributed to how my brain was wired and why it was so important for me to rewire my brain so that I can live the life that I wanted. So without further ado, here we go with chapter 6. It's called Depressed and Hopeless, 911. During another episode, I went through what felt like emotional torture while I was nursing my black eye and my swollen lip. It all started after another beating. Unfortunately, you'll find out in my book that when I was married to my ex-husband, my former husband, he was very abusive, not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically abusive as well. There I was, sitting on the commode in the bathroom, nursing my wounds. In walks my husband with his sawed-off shotgun. He pointed that thing at me and said, "Hee hee ha ha, you don't know if it has bullets in it, do you?" As he pressed that shotgun against my forehead, then my temple, then close to the back of my head, then to my other temple, and then back to my forehead. So he had that sawed-off shotgun as I was sitting on the commode after already being beaten up and running cold water. My rag, I had a rag under the sink, and as the cold water was coming out, I'm putting it on my eye and I'm putting it on my swollen lip. And then he came into the bathroom with the sawed-off shotgun that I had seen many times before, but never had he threatened me with it. And then he pointed it at me. And then he pointed it to my head, hee hee ha ha. And over here, hee hee ha ha, you don't know if it has bullets in it, hee hee ha ha. I was terrified. Then, if that wasn't bad enough, he repeated over and over again to me, "Stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down." I followed his command. So here I am, get the picture. I got a black eye, swollen lip, and he's pointing a sawed-off shotgun at me after he already put it to my forehead and my temple, the back of my head. Then he says, stand up, sit down, while he's pointed at me. So I'm sitting on the commode, standing up, sit down, standing up, sitting down, standing up and sitting down. I followed his command, standing up and sitting down on the commode in tears, crying, afraid. And I feared for my life. Now, I know that a lot of you listening, perhaps you've gone through domestic violence yourself, or maybe you know someone who's gone through domestic violence, and you know that that stuff is no joke. It is seriously traumatizing. Seriously traumatizing. And I was in it for years. And of course, now I'm out of it, but I had to get out of it in my own time, because there were times when I would get away because somebody else told me to get away, and then I would end up right back because of the things that he said that would bring me back. And I was really young at that time, because this is going back 30 something years ago in my life. So right now I am almost 60 years old. On my next birthday, I'll be 60. So this was back when I was in my 20s. And since then I have done a total rewiring of my brain. And I only invite positive and productive, healthy relationships into my life. So this was a long time ago. And it took me a while to get to where I am now. So if you or anybody else that you know is going through domestic violence, it's a serious situation. And women get out, and then oftentimes women go back in because of whatever the man has said to them to bring them out. So every woman has their own time of when they really get it that this is unhealthy. I need to get out. And then sometimes it doesn't even have to be physical abuse to be abusive, because you could be in a mental, emotional abusive situation. And that's not any good either. And something that I've noticed, because I've had friends who have been involved in domestic violence situations, and then I've had a lot of patients who've been involved in being mentally and emotionally abused, and they stay and they stay and they stay and they stay. Sometimes they leave, but then they come back. So it's just important to know that the women need your love and your support, even though it might be really difficult for you to be in the midst of them and hear their stories. They really do need their support, because I ran into a situation where my mother and my sister just kind of backed off because they said it was too distressing whenever I called them after being beaten up and I wasn't leaving. So they just couldn't do it anymore, which I had to respect and understand that too. And then I have patients who are going through the same thing, or who have gone through the same thing, where they've been maybe mentally and emotionally abused, and talk to their family, their loved ones, their friends about all the stuff that was going on. And then they said they're going to leave. And then they end up leaving and maybe even coming back, or just not even leaving at all. So it is really hard. It's hard for the woman that's involved in the situation, and it's hard for all those people who love her. And at the end of the day, it's the woman's situation, the woman that's in the situation. It's all on her as to whether she's going to leave. And hopefully, because a lot of us didn't make it out, a lot of us are gone, didn't make it out. But hopefully, if it's you, you can hear the message that I'm bringing to you now, and know that if you are in an abusive situation, there is another way. And you deserve love, to be loved. You deserve peace in your life. And I wrote the book. I went through a lot of stuff. And in the book, there is a template available that can help you to be able to rewire your brain so that you can just even get your mind right. Because a lot of times that's what it takes for people when they're involved in situations, to get their mind right so that they can realize what it is that they're even going through, and realize that, wow, you got programs in your brain, and the reason why you've stayed and engaged in the same repetitious behavior is because your brain is operating from programs like on automatic pilot, just doing the same things over and over again, and kind of making the same decisions over again, just kind of like on a feedback loop, and not even making any progress. So I wrote the book. There are other books out there, but I'm just saying, I know my book is good. I went through it, and even when I read my book over and over again, it's good. And I've talked to people where they said my book has changed their life. And these are people who had the manuscript before I even put the book out. and they've been working with the book ever since, and it has changed their life. So I do know that it's life changing. And I do want to say too, if you need some therapy, then it's important to get your therapy so you can have the book and you can get therapy, or you can get somebody else's book. But most importantly, if you are in a situation where you are not being valued and respected and where you are being abused, I really, really encourage you to get out. Thanks for listening. And if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then please subscribe so that you can be aware of all of the other videos that I upload on how to help you become the highest version of yourself. Thank you for listening.